So this Den of Geek article says Section 31's failure shouldn't stop Star Trek from trying new things. Section 31 is bad, but Star Trek has to keep trying new things to survive. And respectfully, I disagree with this. The issue here is twofold. Number one, there was nothing new about Section 31 because it was basically the Star Trek variant of the likes of Borderlands, Suicide Squad, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, all thrown together in a really undercooked, poorly conceived, unfunny, bland, and dreadful, edgy, dark sci-fi cliche. Number two, what's needed more than anything, I think, is for Star Trek to return to what it once was, or as close to its original premise, tone, and visual language as possible. Now, I do acknowledge that there are those of you who didn't like Picard Season 3, fair enough, and I have highlighted the issues I had with it as well. But nevertheless, despite those issues, I thought it was the best Trek we've had in quite a while, and at bare minimum, it was far closer to proper Star Trek than the likes of Discovery and the first two seasons of Picard. The point I'm making is, the closer to traditional Trek you get, the better the reception from fans. That seems obvious, it's just logical. Likewise, Star Wars also needs to stop deviating from its core formula, the core formula that makes it work. Trying to reinvent a property for a modern audience has always been the crux of the issue. Sure, update the cinematography to new filming standards, the latest filming techniques and better visual effects. I'm all for that. But don't lose sight of the kinds of storytelling and writing that made the franchise work in the first place. Trying something new in Star Trek was the likes of Deep Space Nine, as far as I'm concerned. Still very much grounded in the lore that TNG had established in Trek canon, but taking place on a space station, a Cardassian space station, no less. Still, the formula of Trek was there. The setting changed, the world and identity of the series didn't. Enterprise was also a big departure for the franchise, taking Trek back to an earlier point in its history, the 22nd century, a prequel with a very different look and feel, but that was still fundamentally true to the ethos of Star Trek, and very much true to its storytelling structure. A structure that, of course, had been established with the original series. One of the reasons Solo, a Star Wars story, didn't work, other than the fact that the writing was poor, was the fact that it moved too far from the spirit of what Star Wars is supposed to be. The Jedi and the Force were nothing really to do with the story, and so the whole grander narrative of good versus evil, light versus dark side, that was completely absent. The Acolyte, other than being woke cringe of the First Order, pun intended, was also thematically removed from the philosophy of Star Wars, the philosophy that makes Star Wars in the first place. There was an attempt in that series, as there is so often in a lot of entertainment these days, to redefine and reimagine Star Wars in a new morally grey framework. This morally relativistic mindset of who's to say what's right and wrong. The dark side is just another point of view. Evil, good, they're just different perspectives, constructs, that kind of thing. Therefore, the Jedi were kind of being turned into something entirely different, something that they aren't. In order for the Jedi to work, there has to be clear-cut distinctions between good and evil. That's kind of the basis of the franchise, right? It's similarly to Lord of the Rings. So this is what inspired a generation of young cinemagoers when they first watched the original trilogy. These franchises don't need any more sympathetic villains or anti-heroes. We've had more than enough of that in entertainment for the last few decades. But likewise, most of modern Star Trek isn't presenting an inspiring or even scientifically intelligent depiction of the future that inspired people to become scientists and engineers and astronauts for so many years. I mean, so many people went into STEM fields because they were inspired by, the original series characters or TNG or DS9 or whatever. And I think that's truly the legacy, actually, of Rick Berman, who very conservatively kept Star Trek true to Roddenberry's vision for so many years. He shepherded the franchise for a long time. From TNG, its 4 feature films, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. And he helped to maintain the franchise inspiring energy. But I don't see the likes of, the Kelvin timeline movies or Discovery, Strange New Worlds, Picard, or Section 31 inspiring anyone to do anything other than to, eventually change the channel. any franchise that's currently lost its way or has lost the respect and interest of its fan base, and that's the most important thing, I think any franchise that finds itself in that situation should not be trying to do anything radically different. It should be trying to go back to the drawing board and attempting to retrace the steps of where everything went wrong, right? That's what the future producers and showrunners need to do, right? Because you're a custodian of very important pop culture icons, and what you contribute to those franchises really matters. So they need to understand what's not working at the moment, what hasn't been working, and to learn to revert to type. So if in doubt, revert to type. If something isn't working, go back to the last. It's like resetting to factory defaults. Go back to when things were working well and try to understand why they were. I think this really helps with hiring people who know and love these franchises and have a great knowledge of them. So returning to the winning formula that worked. I don't think this is a time for new things or subverting expectations at all. It's a time for these big franchises to embrace their past and return to the traditions and roots of these pop culture icons. Maybe that's not happening right now, but I think that there are early signs already that people are certainly unhappy with the direction of some of these franchises, and definitely there is, I think, room for positivity long term. But right now, we certainly didn't need Section 31. We certainly didn't need The Acolyte, and I think these were huge mistakes. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Take care, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.